After my husband died in battle, the dowager matriarch ordered me to choose a husband from among the Wei clan to share my bed, so as to preserve the bloodline of the second household. In the ancestral hall, I set my eyes on that ethereal and elegant eldest son of the main household at first glance, Wei Yang. I beg you to show me mercy, brother-in-law. Wei Yang's expression was cold and disdainful. He did not even lift his eyelids. I looked at the dowager matriarch helplessly. The dowager matriarch pressed a plain white handkerchief into Wei Yang's hand, then knelt down tremblingly before him. Third Lang died for his country. The second household should not be left without an heir. Eldest Lang, your grandmother begs you. Wei Yang helped the dowager matriarch to her feet, his knuckles whitening as he clutched the handkerchief. After a long while, he uttered a single word, "Very well." On the night I married into the Wei family. Third Lang of the Wei clan did not consummate our marriage. Instead, an imperial edict summoned him to the palace, and he led his troops to the battlefield overnight. From that day on, he never returned. He fell in the northwest battlefield. On the surface, everyone in the Wei family pitied me, but privately they called me a jinx, a widow who brought misfortune to her husband, and bullied me at every turn. Only the dowager matriarch took pity on me. She would chat with me about daily trivialities, sharing intimate words now and then. Pay no mind to those nonsense words they spout. In the Minghui Hall, the dowager matriarch sat under a flower-adorned screen, chatting with me casually. "I know, grandmother, it is enough for me to have your love and care." I fetched a brocade pillow to prop behind the dowager matriarch's back, then gently massaged her shoulders. The dowager matriarch patted the back of my hand contentedly, praising me. "Everyone in this mansion is full of schemes and calculations. Not a single one of them is as thoughtful and caring as you. You flatter me, grandmother. I am not half as good as you say I am." I spoke respectfully, saying words to make her happy. "Aunt Mai and Miss Dong, are they not also extremely attentive? They cherish you like the apple of their eye." The dowager matriarch laughed heartily. "Only you know how to coax me into a good mood." I smiled brightly too. But my heart was not joyful at all, only exhausted. Now I had no one to rely on in the Wei family. The only person I could count on was the dowager matriarch. If I even lost her favor, I would be truly isolated and helpless in this mansion, with everyone free to trample on me, too. The Wei family was a prominent and wealthy aristocratic clan in Lei. A girl from a humble family like me would never have been able to marry into such a household under normal circumstances. It was Third Lang of the Wei clan who had fallen head over heels for me at the Shu family's banquet, determined to marry me. Thus our marriage came to be. Everyone said I was blessed with great fortune to marry into the Wei family, that I would enjoy endless glory and wealth for the rest of my life, and that even my parents and relatives would ride on my coattails to prosperity. But fate was cruel. Third Lang had to die in battle, leaving me without a single child to anchor me in this family, making me vulnerable and easy to bully. I was unwilling to accept this fate. I knelt down to pound the dowager matriarch's legs, casually saying, "I have dreamed of Third Lang these past few nights." Alas, he cried and told me how deeply he regrets. Regrets what? The dowager matriarch straightened her posture slowly. I sighed sorrowfully, my eyes reddening gradually. He left too hastily, without leaving me a child to carry on the second household's lineage. He said he gave his life for his country, but in the end, no one will be left to tend to his memorial tablet. By the end of my words, my throat was choked with sobs. Alas, this is also your grandmother's greatest sorrow. That poor boy, Third Lang, lost his parents at a young age. And now he has died on the battlefield, leaving the second household completely without an heir. Yuanyang, tell me, if Third Lang's parents are watching from the afterlife, how should I explain this to them? As the dowager matriarch spoke, tears welled up in her eyes too. It is all my fault for being useless. If only I could have given Third Lang a child back then. I could not hold back my tears any longer, bursting into loud sobs. Do not blame yourself. That imperial edict arrived so suddenly, summoning him to the palace overnight. No one could have foreseen what would happen next. My poor grandson. And I have wronged you too, Yuanyang. Tears streamed down the dowager matriarch's face as well. It is my fault, grandmother. I should not have told you about Third Lang's dream, making you sad and distressed. It does not matter, the dowager matriarch sighed, gently stroking the back of my hand. Suddenly, her eyes lit up as she thought of something. That's right, Third Lang died for his country. The second household should not be left without an heir. With that, she stood up and immediately ordered her servants to fetch her imperial noblewoman's robe. Today I shall go to the palace and report this matter to the Empress Dowager, begging her to make a decision. The reigning Empress Dowager was also from the Wei clan. When the Dowager matriarch said those words, I knew that my plan was all but certain to succeed. It had long been a folk custom for a man to inherit two households. The Wei clan had many young men. Leaving an heir for the second household was not a difficult matter at all, what I could think of. The Dowager matriarch could naturally think of too. It was just that the Wei clan had strict family rules and traditions. No one had ever broken this precedent before, lacking a proper and justifiable reason to do so. Now, by using Third Lang's dream as an excuse, I had played right into the Dowager matriarch's hands, giving her a legitimate reason to go to the palace and request an imperial edict to make this matter aboveboard and official. If this matter went smoothly, I would have a child to anchor me in the future, no longer having to suffer bullying from others. The Dowager matriarch's wish to preserve the second household's bloodline would also be fulfilled. It was truly a win-win situation for both of us. 3. After returning from the palace with a secret imperial edict from the Empress Dowager, the Dowager matriarch summoned all the elders and young members of the Wei clan to the Wei family's ancestral hall. After announcing the Empress Dowager's secret edict, she ordered all eligible young men of the Wei clan to step forward, allowing me to choose whichever one I desired. Third Lang sacrificed his life for his country, yet his second household is left without an heir, a matter that grieves both the Empress Dowager and His Majesty deeply. Therefore, she has issued a special decree, ordering the young men of the Wei clan to take on this unshirkable responsibility of leaving an heir for the second household, so that Third Lang may rest in peace in the afterlife. Smiling, her powerful and forceful words echoed through the hall, leaving everyone present solemn and silent. The eligible young men of the Wei clan stepped forward one after another, lining up in order of their ages. The Dowager matriarch shot me a meaningful glance. I understood her implication immediately, walking slowly toward the line of young men, with light, graceful steps. I stopped in front of the most otherworldly and unparalleled man among them. I curtsied deeply, bending my knees gracefully. I beg you to show me mercy, brother-in-law. The man I chose was the most dazzling pearl of the Wei clan today, Wei Yang. Wei Yang was the legitimate eldest son of the main household. He was as elegant and pure as orchids and fragrant grasses, with an ethereal and jade-like appearance, hailed as the #1 young master among all noble families. Moreover, rumors said he was extremely intelligent, almost supernatural. At a young age, he was already a pillar of the imperial court, serving as the crown prince's tutor, deeply trusted by the emperor. His future prospects were immeasurable. He was surely destined to become a prince, a chancellor, a legendary figure whose name would go down in history. Having him as the father of my child was undoubtedly the best choice. With this connection, the members of the Wei family would surely look up to me, and no one would dare to gossip about or bully me and my child ever again. But Wei Yang was also the most difficult candidate to convince. He had an extremely cold temperament, indifferent to worldly desires, spending his days in the company of Buddhist scriptures. Getting him to nod his agreement was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Thus, the moment I firmly chose Wei Yang, gasps of astonishment echoed throughout the ancestral hall. Sure enough, his expression was cold and disdainful. He did not lift his eyelids from start to finish, refusing even to spare me a single glance. My heart sank with disappointment, but I was already riding a tiger with no way to dismount. Helplessly, I turned to the Dowager matriarch for help, seeing that the matter had reached an impasse. The Dowager matriarch stepped forward, pressing a plain white handkerchief into Wei Yang's hand. In full view of everyone, she actually knelt down tremblingly before him. Eldest Lang. Third Lang died for his country. The second household should not be left without an heir. Your grandmother begs you, Sighs of sympathy rose from the crowd. Wei Yang helped the dowager matriarch to her feet, his face dark and cold, as if he was suppressing his emotions with great difficulty. His clear, icy eyes suddenly shot me a sidelong glance, sharp and stern, making my heart skip a beat. After a long, long while, he took the handkerchief. Clutching it tightly in his hand until his knuckles turned white and his hand trembled slightly, he uttered a single word softly, "Very well." 3. After that day, under the dowager matriarch's arrangement, I moved into the courtyard where Wei Yang lived. Eldest Lang has a cold and quiet temperament. You must take the initiative more. Before leaving, the dowager matriarch did not forget to remind me. I nodded repeatedly, replying, "I understand, grandmother, I shall do my utmost." This scene happened to be seen by Wei Yang as he passed by. My cheeks blushed bright red, but I saw his gaze remained cold and impassive as he turned and walked away. I waited by the bed until midnight before Wei Yang finally returned. Seeing that I was still awake, sitting by the bed waiting for him, he merely glanced at me indifferently, then walked straight to his study. Frustration welled up in my heart. I had dressed up carefully, only to meet someone so completely unromantic and unresponsive. Once, back in my hometown, I was a renowned beauty far and wide. Later, when I moved to Lei with my mother and took up residence at the Shu family's house, I had also attracted the admiration of many young men. Yet here with Wei Yang, having dressed up so delicately and prettily, I could not even get a proper look from him. A feeling of shame and humiliation washed over me instantly. I could tell that Wei Yang did not like me, but I still had to fight for my own future, clenching my teeth. I went to the kitchen in the backyard to fetch the sweet soup I had prepared earlier, mustering up all my courage to push open the door to Wei Yang's study. The door creaked open, and the candlelight inside flickered gently. Wei Yang sat under the bookshelf with a detached expression, holding a scroll of Buddhist scriptures and reading it quietly. The flickering candlelight outlined his profile. His jade-like face was flawless, his wide sleeves and flowing belt fluttering slightly in the breeze. He was as tall and straight as a pine tree, like an immortal banished from the heavens. He glanced sideways at me as I entered, but did not lift his head at all, continuing to read his scroll with undivided attention. The wind blew silently, lifting the veil on the window. Thin wispy smoke curled up from the Boshan incense burner, filling the warm study with a tranquil atmosphere. Wei Yang remained silent all the while, as if he had made up his mind to ignore me completely. I had no choice but to bite the bullet and step forward, offering him the sweet soup. I curtsied gently, calling out to him softly and tenderly, "Brother-in-law, the night is late and the dew is cold. Please drink this soup to warm your body. I made it myself. I kept it simmering on the stove. It is still warm." I spoke to him with utmost thoughtfulness, my face blooming into a lotus-like smile. But even as my smile froze on my face, Wei Yang did not take the bowl of soup. "Put it on the table and leave." After a long while, he said softly. The smile vanished from my face instantly, my heart filled with unwillingness, yet I had no choice but to set the soup bowl down. "Then, if you want to read any books, brother-in-law, let me fetch them for you." I planned to stay by his side to serve him. Determined not to return to the bedroom alone to sleep in that cold bed. "There is no need." Before Wei Yang could finish his words, I stumbled and fell right onto him. To tell the truth, this was not intentional at all. It was really because the bookshelf was too tall. Wei Yang's body was filled with a faint sandalwood fragrance. I fell straight into his arms, my arms wrapping tightly around his neck. Our eyes met, and our breaths were almost touching. Yet in the next moment, Wei Yang's face turned as cold as ice, spitting out two words coldly, "Get up." I scrambled to my feet from his lap, only to be unceremoniously ordered to leave. "Get out." 4. The next day, I saw my bowl of sweet soup dumped in the flower bed by a servant, the porcelain bowl shattered and discarded along with it. It was more than clear how much Wei Yang loathed me. If he had merely disliked me before, after the incident last night, that dislike had turned into outright hatred. The dowager matriarch sent for me, asking about what happened the previous night. Overwhelmed with shame, I found it difficult to put into words, finally saying, "Grandmother, it is all my fault for being incompetent. The dowager matriarch comforted me. Eldest Lang has always had a cold temperament. This is not your fault. Such matters must be approached gradually, you cannot rush them. As the old saying goes, only after traveling a long road can you test a horse's stamina. Only after getting to know someone for a long time can you judge their character. Grandmother believes that as intelligent as you are, you will understand. How could I not understand the dowager matriarch's meaning? But Wei Yang was like a flower blooming high atop a mountain, no amount of sincerity could pluck it. Another 7 days passed just like that, and Wei Yang never once stayed the night in the bedroom, no matter how many ways I tried to show my tenderness, bringing him tea and water, adjusting his clothes, preparing his meals. I could not melt his cold, unyielding heart even a little. One day, noticing the weather turning cold, I snuck into his study in the middle of the night, intending only to add an extra blanket to his chair, but he woke up instantly, his face dark with anger as he chased me out. After that, I truly had no more tricks up my sleeve. I even considered asking the dowager matriarch to let me choose someone else, but before that, I wanted to take one last gamble. Previously, I had been cautious, thinking I should take things step by step, but what if I skipped all the roundabout tactics and went straight for the kill? 5. With this thought in mind, the moment Wei Yang stepped into the room tonight, I appeared before him, dressed in a sheer silk robe that clung to my figure like a second skin. Brother-in-law, the night is late and the dew is heavy, let me wait on you to rest, as expected. Wei Yang did not even spare me a glance, lifting his foot to walk straight to his study. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward to block his path. Brother-in-law, did you not promise before the entire Wei clan to do this? Are you going back on your word? Now that I had made up my mind to tear down the pretense between us, there was no turning back. The room fell into a long, deathly silence. Finally, Wei Yang reacted, lifting his eyelids to look at me, but his gaze remained cold as ever. The dim lantern light cast our overlapping shadows on the screen, swaying gently back and forth. At long last, Wei Yang spoke. He slowly turned his back to me, spreading his arms wide. Come, undress me. His voice was calm and faint, yet it was like a stone dropped into the calm waters of my heart, sending ripples spreading in all directions. It felt like I had overcome countless hardships and obstacles to finally achieve my wish. I let out a long breath of relief in my heart. Very well. I moved forward cautiously, reaching out to untie his belt, standing close to him, that faint sandalwood fragrance wrapped around me once more. I gently touched the brocade belt, trying to undo the jade buckle. But this was truly the first time I had ever done something like this, and I could not help but feel nervous. The more nervous I got, the more flustered my hands became. For a moment, I fumbled with the jade buckle, unable to undo it no matter how hard I tried, without realizing it. I pressed myself closer and closer to him, my hands wandering back and forth around his waist, a thin layer of sweat breaking out on my forehead. Suddenly, my wrists were roughly grabbed. I jolted awake, lifting my eyes to meet a pair of frosty, icy pupils. You can fool third brother with these cheap tricks, but why bother using them on me? His words ignited all the shame and anger buried deep in my heart. Did he really think I was doing this on purpose? What do you mean by that, brother-in-law? Wei Yang stared at me coldly. Truly you do not know. A surge of anger welled up in my chest. Truly I do not know. Wei Yang let out a cold, mocking laugh. Do you not remember the Shu family's banquet that day, sister-in-law? Did I not sit at the same table as you and third brother? Boom. His words hit me like a bolt of lightning, and I felt my blood rush to my head, my face burning with embarrassment. That day, I had indeed deliberately exchanged flirtatious glances with third Lang of the Wei clan. I even kicked him lightly under the table when we sat together. Could it be that all these small, intimate gestures had been seen by Wei Yang? But I had been so careful, so discreet, how could he have possibly noticed? The private, shameful secrets I had buried deep in my heart were suddenly laid bare for him to see. My face turned bright red in an instant, and I wished I could dig a hole in the ground and crawl into it, but right now, I had no choice but to deny everything. I do not understand a single word you are saying, brother-in-law. Please stop joking with me like this. Then I ask you, sister-in-law, do not joke with me either. Click. Wei Yang undid the jade buckle himself, his voice as cold as ice. He was convinced that I was deliberately seducing him. That night, Wei Yang still went to his study, and I'd had lost everything. 6. The next day. On my way back from paying my respects to the dowager matriarch, I happened to bump into the second mistress of the main household passing by. I bowed low to her, about to leave. When she reached out to block my path, she looked me up and down with a frivolous gaze, covering her mouth with her handkerchief as she let out a sharp, mocking laugh. Look at you, if one did not know better, one would think you were some cheap courtesan from a brothel. I was confused. Until I saw her staring at the dark circles under my eyes, and then I realized what she meant. I had spent the entire night awake, tossing and turning, but she had twisted it into something vulgar. The members of the Wei clan had always loved to gossip about and mock me, as if doing so could somehow highlight their own nobility. I was already used to it. In the past, I would just lower my head and walk away, but for some reason today, I just could not swallow this humiliation. Perhaps it was the sting of last night's rejection from Wei Yang that had made me lose my temper, emboldening me to talk back to her. I have just come from paying my respects to grandmother, second aunt. Is it appropriate for you to say such things to me? The brothel you speak of, could you possibly be referring to grandmother's chambers? If word of this gets back to grandmother, would that not offend her deeply? You, the second mistress, had not expected me to retort so sharply. Her face turned livid with anger, her willow-like eyebrows shooting up in fury. How dare you? How dare you talk back? Someone, slap her. The burning pain of the slap landing on my cheek made me realize how reckless I had been. I was already alone and powerless in the Wei family. As the legitimate second mistress of the main household, she could bully me whenever she pleased. In the past, she had never been able to find an excuse to pick on me, but today, my outburst had been foolish enough to give her the perfect reason to strike me. I merely teased you a little, and you dare to talk back to your elder like this. Do you have no respect for seniority at all? You are nothing but a country bumpkin from a backwater town, with no manners or propriety, since you do not know how to behave yourself. And no one else is willing to teach you, then let your second aunt take it upon herself to discipline you. Hit her hard, do not hold back. The second mistress ordered her servants to drag me to the corridor, forcing me to my knees as they slapped me again and again. The commotion attracted the attention of everyone passing by. Today, I had lost all my dignity in front of the entire Wei clan. Do not think that just because you have latched onto our eldest Lang, you can act like you are someone important. In eldest Lang's eyes, you are nothing but a bed warmer. No, not even that. You are beneath a bed warmer. The reason the second mistress spoke such cruel words was that she had always wanted to marry her own niece to Wei Yang as his concubine. Now that I had ruined her plans, she was naturally filled with resentment, and that was why she was targeting me like this. But what she said was not entirely untrue. Thinking back to everything that happened last night, Wei Yang truly had no affection for me at all, only disgust. A noble young master like him, as pure and lofty as the bright moon and gentle breeze, who did not care for the trivialities of the mortal world. He would never understand a woman like me, born lowly, who struggled so hard just to climb a little higher in life. So what exactly was I fighting for? In the end, I had aimed too high, only to end up with nothing but empty hands. Ridiculous. Pathetic. The slaps fell on my face one after another, but I did not feel any pain. All I felt was a bone-deep coldness, an indescribable chill that seeped into my very soul. Stop. It was not until a cold, sharp voice rang out that I finally snapped out of my daze. Everything around me came to an abrupt halt. I slowly raised my head, blurry-eyed, and vaguely saw a figure striding toward me, dressed in a spotless moon-white robe. His eyebrows and eyes were as cold and distant as the snow-capped mountain peaks. It was Wei Yang. I did not know that Auntie had such a talent for reading other people's minds. Wei Yang lifted me into his arms, glancing at me briefly before turning his icy gaze onto the second mistress standing nearby, a cold smirk playing on his lips. The second mistress panicked instantly. Eldest Lang, I did not mean it like that. Wei Yang laughed coldly. Then what did you mean? Did you mean to bully her relentlessly, or to throw your weight around and oppress those weaker than you? 7. That night, Wei Yang brought medicine for me from the Imperial Medical Office in the palace. I knew he was only pitying me, but I still felt overwhelmed by his unexpected kindness. I am sorry to trouble you, brother-in-law. I am fine. Wei Yang shot me a faint glance, not saying anything more, only ordering, apply the medicine. With that, he twisted open the medicine jar, dipped his fingertips into the powder, and began to apply it to my wounds himself. It hurts. The moment the medicine touched my raw skin, it felt like it was burning, making my eyes water with pain. Now you know it hurts. Wei Yang chuckled softly. Why did I not hear you complaining when you were being punished earlier today? Regardless of what prejudices he held against me, the fact that he had stood up for me today, scolding the second mistress on my behalf, for that, I was truly grateful. After being bullied for so long in the Wei family, he was the first person who had ever defended me. Thank you, brother-in-law, for saving me today. I thanked him, holding back my tears. The movements of Wei Yang's hands softened considerably, his eyebrows and eyes no longer looking quite so cold and distant as he carefully applied the medicine under the lamplight. The candlelight was dim and warm. I was extremely close to him, his slender eyebrows, his pitch-black pupils. All were reflected clearly in my eyes. I had to admit it, Wei Yang was truly breathtakingly handsome, enough to capture any woman's heart. It was no wonder that all the noble young ladies from the aristocratic clans were competing to win his favor. Perhaps sensing that I was staring at him, Wei Yang spoke up. I just happened to pass by today. I merely did not want Auntie to bring shame to the main household. Do not read too much into it. He was afraid that I might misunderstand, thinking that he had some special feelings for me, and so he was quick to distance himself from me. I understand, brother-in-law. Rest assured I will not pester you because of this, nor will I ask you for anything in return. Perhaps my words pleased him, because after applying the medicine, Wei Yang did not leave. Instead, he stayed to have dinner with me. In the past, I had cooked for him every day, but he had never touched a bite of my food. Today, it was probably just a twinge of sympathy that made him stay. After he took a sip of the chicken soup I had stewed myself, I looked at him with bright eyes and asked, "How does it taste?" "It is nothing special." He set down the porcelain bowl, his expression still indifferent, but his hand reached out again, scooping another spoonful of soup into his bowl as he took a small sip. Truly a man who said one thing but meant another. I smiled secretly to myself. After dinner, Wei Yang went to his study again. I took the opportunity to ask if I could accompany him, and this time, he did not refuse. He sat down at the chess table, suddenly raising his slender, jade-like fingers to tap lightly on the chessboard as he asked me, "Do you know how to play chess?" I shook my head, answering honestly, "No, I do not. I was born and raised in the countryside. It was only a few years ago that I followed my mother to Lei to look for relatives. I was never truly a noble lady born into an aristocratic family, so I naturally knew nothing of these elegant pastimes favored by the upper classes." To my surprise, my honesty did not draw Wei Yang's contempt. Instead, he gestured for me to sit down. "I will teach you." Overwhelmed by his unexpected kindness, I replied gratefully, "Thank you, brother-in-law." The night was growing late. A bright full moon hung high outside the window, while inside the room, the candlelight flickered like a tiny bean flame. Under Wei Yang's guidance, I learned quickly. In half an hour, I had grasped the basics and could barely hold my own against him in a game. I was completely absorbed in the match when Wei Yang suddenly asked, "Is this how the aunt treats you on a daily basis?" "Yes," I blurted out without thinking. "It is not just the second mistress, everyone else in the Wei family treats me the same way. I have grown used to being looked down on and bullied at every turn in this household." As soon as the words left my mouth, I realized my mistake. I had unconsciously poured out all my resentment toward the Wei family to Wei Yang himself. After all, he was also a member of the Wei clan. How could he tolerate me speaking ill of his family like this? Uneasily, I lifted my eyes to look at him, only to find Wei Yang gazing at me thoughtfully. "Earlier, you said your Wei family." I lowered my eyes, too ashamed to meet his gaze. "Please forgive me for my careless words, brother-in-law," Wei Yang said quietly. "The Wei family all look down on you. You have never been happy here, So you have never truly considered yourself a part of the Wei family. All my innermost thoughts were laid bare before him. I had no choice but to admit it, my voice barely a whisper. Yes, no wonder, Wei Yang murmured softly, more to himself than to me. No wonder what? I raised my head, meeting his clear, icy eyes. He placed a chess piece on the board with a click, his gaze fixed on me as he said, "That day, when you chose me, it was a deliberate attempt to climb the social ladder, to secure a better future for yourself. Was it not?" Clatter. My mind went blank with shock, and the chess piece slipped from my fingers, rolling 3 times across the board before coming to a stop. Wei Yang was far too intelligent. He always saw straight through my heart, leaving me with nowhere to hide. Now that everything was out in the open, there was no point in pretending anymore, no need to put on an act. I stood up, curtsying gracefully before him as I knelt down on the floor, my skirt spreading out around me like a blooming lotus flower. I lost my father when I was a child, brother-in-law. I followed my mother all the way to Lei, living under someone else's roof, lonely and helpless, enduring nothing but cold stares and bullying. I am not like those noble young ladies who have everything handed to them on a silver platter. I had no choice but to fight for my own survival. I admit it, marrying Third Lang back then, and choosing you today, brother-in-law, both were deliberate choices, calculated attempts to better my station in life. But I do not think I was wrong. The world is unfair. Those who hold power always oppress those who do not. If I wanted to stop being bullied, if I wanted to give my mother and myself a better life, I had no choice but to do whatever it took to climb higher. Now that you have seen through me, brother-in-law, I have no excuses to make. Whether you dislike me, or look down on me, I accept it. Having spoken my piece, I felt as if a great weight had been lifted from my chest, a sense of relief washing over me. But in the next instant, I tensed up again. I had been reckless, gambling everything on guessing Wei Yang's true feelings. From what happened today, he was not without a sense of justice. He was capable of standing up for the weak. If he knew the full extent of my hardships, if he pitied me, perhaps he could empathize with me. But what if Wei Yang looked down on a scheming woman like me, and decided to ignore me from now on? My heart was in a state of chaos. The room fell into a long, tense silence. I did not dare to look up at him, my palms growing damp with sweat. "Have you finished?" Wei Yang suddenly asked. "Yes," I replied softly. Wei Yang let out a low laugh. "You are surprisingly forthright. It makes me look like the villain now." It seemed I had won the bet. I would never dare to think that, brother-in-law. I bowed my head even lower. "I am willing to give you a child." "What?" I looked up in stunned disbelief, only to see Wei Yang turning and walking away, leaving nothing but his tall, slender figure behind. I could not believe my ears. What had Wei Yang just said? He had agreed to give me a child. 8 days passed with no sign of progress between Wei Yang and me, and even the dowager matriarch began to grow anxious. She sent someone to deliver a bowl of ginseng soup, telling me to give it to Wei Yang to nourish his body. I noticed the old nanny who delivered the soup hesitated to speak, and knew immediately that there was something odd about the ginseng soup, but it was the dowager matriarch's order. I could not very well refuse her kindness. Reluctantly, I accepted the bowl. That night, Wei Yang returned home. Even though he had seemed to casually drop that remark about giving me a child a few days ago, I had waited and waited. And he had given no further indication of following through. Perhaps he had not meant it seriously. I was also too embarrassed to be as forward as I had been before. It would only make him dislike me more. And so, the matter of sharing a bed remained unresolved. But perhaps tonight was the perfect opportunity to let nature take its course. I stared at the ginseng soup sent by the dowager matriarch, deep in thought. Even if Wei Yang misunderstood that I had tampered with the soup, I could always explain myself later, playing the part of the helpless victim. It should be fine. With this plan in mind, I carried the ginseng soup to Wei Yang's desk, just as the dowager matriarch had instructed. But as Wei Yang lifted the bowl to drink the soup, I could not hold back any longer. I blurted out, "Brother-in-law, do not drink it." Wei Yang set the bowl down, looking at me with a frown. "Why not?" This, I could not think of a plausible excuse on the spot, my heart racing with panic. In the end, I mustered up all my courage, snatched the bowl from his hand, and drank the soup myself in one go, because I wanted to taste it too. I forced an awkward smile, giving him the lamest excuse imaginable. Naturally, Wei Yang saw right through my strange behavior. As I stumbled unsteadily toward the door, he followed closely behind. Sure enough, the ginseng soup had been laced with something. After drinking it, my entire body burned with an unbearable heat. I felt myself about to collapse. He stepped forward to support me, but I pushed him away as if his touch were fire. Brother-in-law, do not come near me. I am afraid I will. Wei Yang held me firmly by the shoulders, letting out a cold laugh. Tell me what was added to this ginseng soup. My face was already flushed bright red, my heart burning with desire. I wanted nothing more than to throw myself into his arms, but I bit my lip hard, fighting to control myself. This ginseng soup, grandmother sent it over this morning. A flicker of change crossed Wei Yang's face, his sharp, cold eyes softening slightly. Wave after wave of heat surged up from my lower abdomen, causing me to tremble uncontrollably. I bit down hard on my lip, struggling not to make a sound. Just as I felt I could no longer hold on, suddenly, an arm slipped around my waist, and Wei Yang lifted me up in his strong embrace. The world spun dizzily around me, and the next thing I knew, I was lying on the soft bed, covered with silken quilts. Through my dazed, foggy vision, I saw the warm red silk curtains hanging above the bed, and Wei Yang's breathtakingly handsome face looming over me. My heart pounded wildly in my chest. Almost leaping out of my throat, whoosh, the phoenix-shaped candle was blown out, leaving only a wisp of curling smoke in the darkness. My dress slipped off my shoulders, my hands pinned above my head. Wei Yang leaned down to kiss me, his smooth, jade-like skin cool to the touch, soothing the burning heat coursing through my body. I could not tell if I was feeling nervous or afraid. All I knew was that waves of trembling washed over me, pain and pleasure mingling together in an intoxicating blend. I bit down hard on my lip, determined not to make a sound. The night was silent, save for the rhythmic creaking of the bedposts as they knocked against the wall. The man above me increased his movements, his voice low and husky in my ear. If it hurts, you can scream. 9. The rain beat down on the banana leaves outside. A night of light rain and sudden gusts of wind. The next day, I slept until the sun was high in the sky. When I woke up, Wei Yang was no longer by my side. The dowager matriarch sent for me to come speak with her. I took the blood-stained handkerchief with me to her room. The dowager matriarch's face lit up with joy. She noticed the dark circles under my eyes, taking my hand in hers as she said gently, "My good child, you have worked hard." Grandmother. My face turned bright red with embarrassment. This is wonderful news. As long as eldest Lang is willing to try, you will be with child in no time. The dowager matriarch stroked my hand tenderly. Her face filled with maternal warmth. I have a secret folk remedy here. I will have someone brew it for you these next few days. Drink it, and it will ensure you conceive a son. That night, as Wei Yang and I played chess together, grandmother's servants indeed arrived with the medicine. Wei Yang let out a soft chuckle. What trick are you up to with this concoction today? I waved my hands quickly, explaining flusteredly, rest assured, brother-in-law. Grandmother said this is a fertility tonic, not like the one from yesterday. My voice trailed off, growing softer and softer as memories of last night flooded my mind, my cheeks flushing red again involuntarily. Even if it were like the one from yesterday, it would be fine. It was another sleepless night. Wei Yang blindfolded me with a piece of silk, abandoning all the restraint and propriety of the upright young master he usually was. The next day, my legs were so weak I could barely stand, let alone walk. The maids in the courtyard whispered among themselves. Did you hear? Last night, the eldest young master called for water 7 times. I was so ashamed I did not dare to leave my room at all, and this intimate lovemaking, it was like the most addictive poison in the world, capable of seeping into one's bones and marrow, impossible to resist. Wei Yang and I lay together every night after that, true to his reputation as the crown prince's tutor. Wei Yang was a quick learner even in matters of the flesh. After the initial awkwardness of the first night, he quickly grew skilled and proficient. making me drown in waves of pleasure. In the heat of passion, he would murmur softly against my ear, his voice thick with desire, "Yuanyang, now that we are like this, do you still ever think of the late third Lang? Did you really think I could not see through all your little schemes and tricks? Yuanyang, all I ask is that you give me your heart." Once, he even looked at me with such sincere affection in his eyes that my heart skipped a beat. He said, "Yuanyang, what if I marry you properly, as my legal wife? That way, we can be together for the rest of our lives." I knew Wei Yang was lying. He could never marry me. A vast, unbridgeable chasm separated us. If he ever dared to take that step, it would ruin his reputation completely, and bring utter disaster down upon the entire Wei family. But for some reason, hearing him say those words still made my heart flutter with a foolish, giddy joy. I shared Wei Yang's bed for 3 months, and soon enough, I was with child, carrying the Wei family's blood in my womb. Because the child I carried was Wei Yang's, no one dared to look down on me or bully me anymore. Life in the Wei family grew more comfortable and carefree with each passing day. My status rose steadily along with Wei Yang's increasing power and position in the imperial court. Just when I thought things would continue to go smoothly like this, fate played a cruel joke on me. Third Lang was alive, he had come back, and with him was another woman. 10. Wei Ling was alive. The entire family was overjoyed, celebrating the good news with great fanfare. The emperor himself held a grand feast in his honor, promoting him 3 ranks in one go and appointing him as a general of the upper army. Everyone rushed to flatter me, saying what a lucky woman I was. That I would soon enjoy endless glory and wealth by Wei Ling's side. But the scene that unfolded at the imperial banquet left everyone lost for words, no longer able to offer their insincere compliments. The emperor asked Wei Ling what reward he desired for his heroic deeds. Wei Ling stepped forward. Leading a woman out from the crowd, he declared loudly that she was his savior. If it had not been for her rescue several months ago, he would have long since died on the battlefield. "I can never repay her for saving my life, Your Majesty. I have no other wish but to marry Lady Lin and take her as my wife." That day, Wei Ling knelt straight on the palace hall, making his vow solemnly and earnestly. In doing so, he trampled my dignity into the dirt for all to see. Shortly after Wei Ling secured the emperor's permission for their marriage, Lady Lin entered the Wei household, though she was only a concubine. Her favored status with Wei Ling allowed her to act as she pleased throughout the mansion. She provoked me time and again. Finally losing my patience, I went to confront Wei Ling, only to hear him explain, "Lin Niang is new here and has had a hard time settling in. I hope you will be more tolerant of her." Furious, I turned to leave, but Wei Ling grabbed me and pulled me into his arms. "Yuanyang, Lin Niang saved my life. Marrying her is my way of repaying that debt. But the woman I truly love is you. You are my lawfully wedded wife." Somehow, as I looked into his eyes and listened to his tender words, I felt no joy whatsoever, only disgust. I supposed my morning sickness was acting up again. Afraid he might notice something was amiss, I pushed him away and fled in a hurry. 11. The dowager matriarch had strictly ordered me not to let Wei Ling know about my pregnancy. She had not only warned me but also issued a solemn command to the entire Wei clan to keep it a secret, to avoid any future conflicts between half-brothers fighting over the family inheritance. She even secretly gave me a packet of sleeping powder. "You must remember, get Third Lang drunk and consummate the marriage with him, then place this blood-stained handkerchief on the bed to fake it. That way, he will never know the truth about who the child's real father is. This will be for the best, for Wei Ling, and for the entire Wei clan." "I understand, grandmother." That day, I reluctantly agreed, but for some reason, I felt an overwhelming sense of reluctance in my heart. The only face I could see in my mind was Wei Yang's. That night, Wei Ling came to my room for the first time since Lady Lin had entered the household. Perhaps he had felt guilty about angering me earlier that day, and had come to make amends. I remembered the dowager matriarch's instructions. Tonight was my chance to seize the opportunity. So when Wei Ling was not looking, I slipped the sleeping powder into the wine jug. Wei Ling apologized to me, drinking 3 cups of wine as a punishment for his earlier behavior. It was not long before he became completely drunk, slumping onto the bed with his arms around me and drifting off into a deep sleep. I should have woken him up and carried out the charade the Dowager Matriarch had ordered. But I did not. Instead, I carefully removed his clothes and my own outer robe, placing the blood-stained handkerchief I had prepared earlier on the bed. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. Wei Ling did not wake up once during the entire process, only occasionally reaching out to hold me, murmuring deliriously in his sleep, calling out for Lin Niang. I breathed a sigh of relief. But at that moment, the door suddenly creaked loudly, and was thrown open with a forceful bang. The noise was so loud that it nearly jolted Wei Ling awake from his drunken stupor. "Who's there?" I looked up in panic, and when I saw who was standing at the door, my face turned deathly pale in an instant. It was Wei Yang. He stood in the doorway, wearing a black cloak that blended into the endless pitch-black night behind him. When his eyes fell on the intimate scene of Wei Ling and me on the bed, his expression darkened to the point of resembling a cold, bottomless abyss. "What are you doing here? Have you gone mad?" But before I could finish my words, Wei Yang stormed into the room, yanking me roughly out of the sleeping Wei Ling's arms, lifting me up bridal style, and striding toward the door. "No," I cried out in alarm. I was only wearing my undergarment, with no outer robe to cover myself. If Wei Yang carried me out of the room like this tonight, it would be the ultimate proof of our incestuous affair. "So you still have some sense of shame left?" Before stepping out the door, Wei Yang snatched an outer robe from the rack, draping it over my head, and let out a cold, mocking laugh. He was insane, truly, utterly insane. All the commotion caused Wei Ling to stir awake slowly. Discovering that I was no longer by his side, he called out groggily, "Yuanyang, Yuanyang." At that very moment, as Wei Yang carried me across the threshold, we collided head-on with Nanny Li, the Dowager Matriarch's most trusted servant. She had come to deliver a bowl of soup, just as the Dowager Matriarch had instructed. When she saw Wei Yang, she thought she must be seeing things, rubbing her eyes hard to make sure. "Oh my goodness, eldest young master, what are you doing here so late at night? And who is that you're carrying in your arms, beneath the robe?" My hands clinging tightly to Wei Yang's arm trembled violently, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would leap out of my throat. Wei Yang's expression remained completely calm as he continued walking forward. "A maid from my quarters went missing. I am out looking for her." Nanny Li's jaw dropped in shock. Wei Yang had always kept his distance from women, let alone showing any favoritism to a maid in his chambers. 12. Wei Yang carried me into a dimly lit side room. The candlelight flickered gently, casting a warm glow over his flawless, jade-like face. His features were truly a masterpiece of nature. "Have you lost your mind?" I struggled in his arms, but he spun around, pinning me against the door with his body, his eyes as dark and bright as ink. "Yes, I have gone mad." Wei Yang lowered his head to kiss me, lost in a frenzy of desire. His lips were hot and wet against mine, like a brand, trailing from my mouth and cheeks down to my collarbone. "Yuanyang, how could I not go mad, thinking about you sharing a bed with Wei Ling?" His kisses left me breathless, my hands pressed firmly against his chest to push him away. "Stop being jealous, I did not sleep with Third Lang." "Truly?" Wei Yang paused for a heartbeat, then dove back in to ravage my lips and tongue greedily, as if he could never get enough. "Then I arrived just in time. If I had not come, what would you have done? Would you have treated him the same way you treated me before?" I quickly replied, "That is not what happened at all. I had originally planned to." "Planned to what?" Wei Yang stared at me intently, his gaze piercing. I lowered my eyes, avoiding his stare. "It does not matter. I will not say it." Wei Yang took my hand, pressing it against his burning hot chest, a faint smile playing on his lips, putting on a show for the Dowager Matriarch, while secretly carrying on an affair with me behind her back. I felt a surge of shame and anger. "How have you become so shameless, brother-in-law?" Wei Yang laughed. "Me, shameless? Where was all this modesty when we were sharing a bed night after night?" I shook my head, frustration welling up inside me. "But now that Third Lang has come back, the Dowager Matriarch has ordered the entire clan to keep this a secret. You and I, we can never be together in the end, and if Nanny Li noticed something suspicious earlier, and goes back to report it to the dowager matriarch. Then both Wei Yang and I would surely face severe punishment. My heart felt as if it were weighed down by 1,000 pounds, filled with anxiety and unease, but Wei Yang simply said, "Yuan Yang, as long as you remain faithful to me, I will find a way to marry you one day." Marry me? Now that third Lang was alive, how could he possibly marry me? A terrifying thought flashed through my mind, and I feared that he would break off his relationship with Wei Ling completely, brother turning against brother. I quickly said, "No, you cannot." Wei Yang's cool, gentle palm came to rest on my abdomen, his voice softening. "Have you already forgotten whose child you are carrying in your belly?" Knock, knock, knock. A loud knocking sound echoed through the door. It was Wei Ling. "Come to look for me. Yuan Yang, are you in there?" At the sound of his voice, my heart jumped straight into my throat. "Shush, do not let him find us." Wei Yang placed a finger to his lips, gesturing for me to be quiet, then pressed his lips against mine once more. All my protests were swallowed up by his kiss. 13. Wei Yang had truly lost his mind. From that day on, he continued to steal moments with me right under Wei Ling's nose. I was filled with fear and dread, yet I could not bring myself to resist him. Fortunately, Lady Lin soon discovered she was pregnant. Wei Ling spent his days by her side, caring for her, leaving him with no time to spare for me. Otherwise, it would only have been a matter of time before our secret was exposed. One day, I was simmering bird's nest soup in the small kitchen when Lady Lin walked in. Seeing the bowl of soup I had prepared, she snatched it from my hands without a second thought. "A barren hen like you, what use do you have for such precious blood bird's nest?" I had originally planned to ignore her, but her words were so cruel and insulting that I could not hold back my anger any longer. "Chuanxi, take it back from her." But the moment my maid reached out to touch her, Lady Lin deliberately dropped the bowl onto the floor, shattering it into pieces. "Oh my, what a waste." Turning around, she spotted Wei Ling walking toward them. She immediately stumbled into his arms, her eyes reddening with feigned tears. "Third Lang, I only wanted a bowl of bird's nest soup to nourish my body, but sister refuses to even let me have that." Wei Ling looked at the shattered bowl of bird's nest on the floor, his eyebrows furrowing in disapproval. "Yuan Yang, why do you lack even this basic level of tolerance?" I argued my case firmly, refusing to back down. "Not only did I personally stew that bird's nest soup with my own hands, which she does not deserve to eat, but she was the one who started it, insulting me and twisting the truth. I was so angry that I told Chuanxi to take it back. She was the one who deliberately smashed the bowl." "Lin Niang, is this true?" Wei Ling glanced down at the woman in his arms. When Lady Lin remained silent, looking as innocent and pitiful as ever, he immediately took her side. "Even if what you say is true, Lin Niang is pregnant now. You should be more considerate and take better care of her." Seeing that I was clearly at a disadvantage, I knew better than to push my luck. I lowered my head, pretending to apologize. "You are right, husband. I was wrong. Why are you submitting to such injustice?" "Sister-in-law," a clear, melodious voice suddenly rang out. I turned around to see a tall, elegant figure standing there dressed in white, as pure and untainted as the moon and the wind. It was Wei Yang. What was he doing here, adding fuel to the fire? Was he not making things even more complicated than they already were? Or was he simply unable to bear seeing me being bullied? "How can you run your household like this?" "Third brother." Wei Yang's voice was cold and sharp, cutting through the tension in the air. "Allowing a concubine to bully your legal wife right under your nose. I witnessed everything that happened just now. There are plenty of servants in this kitchen who saw it too. You only need to ask them to get to the truth. Showing such blatant favoritism, are you not afraid of breaking sister-in-law's heart?" Publicly reprimanded by his elder brother, Wei Ling hung his head in shame, his voice lowering in deference. "You are right, elder brother. I was in the wrong." But Wei Yang was not finished yet. He turned to address the kitchen staff, his tone stern and authoritative. "Did all of you see what really happened here just now?" The servants all nodded vigorously, stepping forward to confirm my story and clear my name. Wei Yang's expression turned icy cold as he looked at Wei Ling. "Third brother, according to the Wei clan's family rules, Any concubine who insults her mistress deserves 30 lashes as punishment. Lady Lin was so frightened that she fell to her knees with a loud thud, tears streaming down her face as she begged for mercy. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me this once. Eldest young master, 14. Considering that Lady Lin was pregnant, Wei Yang did not impose the full punishment. He merely ordered Wei Ling to confiscate her monthly allowance. The Wei household was ultimately ruled by the main branch, and within the main branch, Wei Yang held the highest authority now, naturally. His words carried immense weight. While I was relieved that he had stood up for me and taught Lady Lin a lesson, this incident also made Wei Ling begin to suspect that there was something going on between me and Wei Yang. Elder brother has never gone out of his way to defend anyone like that before. Yuan Yang, you are the first. In the days that followed, Wei Ling often brought up this incident in conversation. I dismissed it lightly. Elder brother just happened to pass by that day, that is all. Is that really all it was? Wei Ling looked at me doubtfully, clearly not believing my words. Yuan Yang, I cannot help but feel that the way elder brother looks at you, it is not normal. I feigned anger, pretending to be offended by his suspicions. You are overthinking things. Wei Ling pulled me into his arms, his voice softening. Yuan Yang, it is not that I do not trust you, but if elder brother really does have feelings for you, seeing the unhappy look on my face. He quickly changed the subject, backtracking. All right, I will not mention it again. But Yuan Yang, you must keep your distance from elder brother from now on. Otherwise, he leaned in, pretending to pout playfully as if he were jealous, moving in to kiss me, but I turned my head away, pushing him out of my arms. I am not feeling well. Third Lang. Wei Ling raised his hand to touch his lips, clearly disappointed. He must have thought I was just being petty and sulking. With a sigh, he turned and left. At the family banquet that evening, the dowager matriarch announced 2 pieces of joyful news with a wide, beaming smile on her face. First news from Third Lang's household, she said, turning to look at Wei Ling with a warm smile. Yuan Yang is pregnant. You must take good care of her from now on. Wei Ling's face lit up with surprise and delight. He pulled me close, wrapping his arm around my waist, and asked excitedly, "Is this true, Yuan Yang?" I nodded shyly. And he laughed even more joyfully. "Heaven has truly rewarded me, granting me 2 sons in one stroke." The dowager matriarch chided him playfully. "You rascal, do not forget which one is your legitimate son when the time comes." Wei Ling nodded solemnly. "Your lesson is well remembered, grandmother. I would never dare to forget." Little Dong, with her bright, watery eyes, stood on a stool, chattering in her childish lisp. "Grandmother, grandmother, what is the second piece of happy news?" The dowager matriarch's face split into a wide grin, her joy uncontainable. "Eldest Lang is going to marry the princess." The entire family erupted in delight, exclaiming in unison, "Is this true?" The dowager matriarch chuckled, nodding emphatically. "Of course it is. I went to the palace the other day, and the Empress Dowager herself told me ever since the imperial banquet last month, Princess Swaiming has had her eye on Yanga. She is even begging His Majesty to grant them a royal marriage. This is truly a momentous occasion. Yes, yes, who does not know that Princess Swaiming is the Emperor's most beloved daughter? Does this mean elder brother will become the imperial consort?" The room buzzed with excited chatter and laughter. Everyone was beaming with joy, everyone except Wei Yang. His eyes remained fixed on me, his gaze deep and unwavering, never once leaving my face. Naturally, Wei Ling noticed this too. He deliberately raised his wine cup, offering a toast to Wei Yang with a forced smile. "Allow me to congratulate you, elder brother, on your upcoming marriage to the princess." Wei Yang stared at him coldly, making no move to stand or accept the toast. The atmosphere grew awkward and tense. After a long, uncomfortable silence, Wei Yang rose to his feet, bowing respectfully to the dowager matriarch to take his leave. "I have no desire to drink today. I shall take my leave now." 15. Wei Yang's blatant display of affection that day had made the entire family suspicious, as if misfortune never comes alone. Wei Ling's distrust of me also deepened significantly. "While I was away, did you and elder brother?" "I did not," I defended myself fiercely, but Lady Lin chimed in from the side. adding fuel to the fire with a malicious smirk. "Third Lang, I have always been wholeheartedly loyal to you. But as for sister, who can say for sure? The entire Wei household is buzzing with rumors now, saying that the child in sister's belly is actually—" "Shut up." Wei Ling's mind was already in turmoil, and her words only served to infuriate him further. Every time we argued about this, we would end up parting on bad terms. Thus, Wei Ling's suspicion of me continued to grow, fanned by Lady Lin's constant, poisonous whispers, until it finally reached its breaking point. The day it all exploded was the day Lady Lin falsely accused me of pushing her, claiming I had tried to kill her unborn child. "Yuan Yang, I never imagined you could be so cruel and vicious." Wei Ling's face was dark with rage as he looked at Lady Lin, who was lying on the ground, weeping dramatically. Without a second thought, he raised his hand and struck me hard across the face, sending me crashing to the floor. My cheek burned with searing pain, and as I fell heavily to the ground, I instinctively curled up, clutching my stomach tightly to protect the child within me. Wei Ling immediately regretted his outburst, a look of guilt flashing across his face as he reached out to help me up, but Lady Lin clung to him, clutching her own stomach and sobbing hysterically. "Third Lang, it hurts. My stomach hurts so badly. I am afraid our baby. I am afraid we are going to lose our baby." Wei Ling quickly lifted her into his arms, his voice filled with tenderness and concern. "Do not worry, Lin Niang, I have already sent for the doctor. I am here, you and our child will be safe, I promise." But Lady Lin was not satisfied yet. She glared at me venomously, demanding that Wei Ling punish me. "Third Lang, she tried to kill our child. You cannot let her get away with this." "But she is pregnant too." Wei Ling hesitated. Torn between his two wives, Lady Lin fixed me with a cold, cruel stare. "Then make her kneel. A few hours of kneeling will not harm her precious baby." Anxious to get Lady Lin to the doctor as soon as possible, Wei Ling gave in to her demands, turning to me with a stern expression. "Kneel here and reflect on your wrongdoing for the next half hour." In the courtyard, I knelt down without a word, my face remaining calm and expressionless. I did not protest. After enduring so much unfair bias and unfounded accusations, my heart had long since turned cold. I felt too exhausted to argue anymore. People passed by the courtyard constantly, casting curious glances and whispering among themselves as they watched the spectacle. But this was, after all, a private family matter between Wei Ling and me. No one dared to intervene. That was until Wei Yang arrived. "Get up." He helped me to my feet, his eyes locking with Wei Ling's, who was standing on the veranda above. Wei Ling had just finished listening to the doctor reassure him that Lady Lin and her baby were perfectly fine. He turned around just in time to see Wei Yang helping me stand, and his eyes turned sharp and dangerous, like blades. "What business do you have meddling in my family affairs again, elder brother?" Wei Yang let out a cold, mocking laugh. "I simply cannot bear to watch someone as foolish as a pig repeat the same mistakes over and over again." I felt compelled to remind him. His words were not only a scathing insult to Wei Ling but also a subtle warning to Lady Lin. Sure enough, Lady Lin flinched involuntarily in Wei Ling's arms. Anger blazed in Wei Ling's eyes as he stormed down the steps, confronting Wei Yang face to face. He ground his teeth, his voice dripping with resentment. "Has elder brother abandoned all pretense now? Do you not care about the endless gossip that is already spreading throughout this household? There is no shortage of gossip in this world. I have nothing to fear from it." Wei Yang met his gaze fearlessly, his expression cold and resolute as he spoke. "It is those who cannot distinguish right from wrong, who choose to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the truth. They are the ones who wield the sharpest swords, capable of inflicting the deepest wounds." Wei Ling was so furious he could barely speak, but he could not find the words to refute Wei Yang's accusation. Instead, he let out a bitter laugh, his eyes flickering to me as he taunted Wei Yang. "If the gods and heavens are watching, they will never allow such an unethical, incestuous scandal to stain the Wei family's honor. Do you not agree, elder brother?" He was deliberately trying to provoke Wei Yang, but Wei Yang's expression remained unchanged. He simply looked at me deeply, his voice softening as he spoke, loud enough for everyone to hear. If the gods and heavens are truly just, they will allow true lovers to be together in the end. Wei Ling clenched his jaw tightly, his face contorted with rage. Is elder brother really so determined to humiliate me like this? Wei Yang raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into a defiant smirk. And if I am, you? Wei Ling's anger turned to hysterical laughter. He fixed his gaze on me, his voice dripping with malice as he tried to turn me against Wei Yang. Yuanyang elder brother is going to marry the princess, he is going to become the imperial consort. Why are you hiding behind him? Have you forgotten who your real husband is? Their heated argument, their bitter exchange of words, all of it had caused a huge commotion. Members of every branch of the Wei family had gathered to watch. Drawn by the noise, the situation was rapidly spiraling out of control. Some even suggested fetching the dowager matriarch to mediate the dispute. Wei Ling's face was as cold as frost as he issued a final ultimatum to Wei Yang, his voice icy with contempt. Elder brother, I will make this perfectly clear for the last time. Yuanyang and I are husband and wife. You are going to marry the princess of this dynasty soon. You have no right to interfere in my family matters. No right, my family matters. Wei Yang's temper, which had always been as calm and steady as ice, finally snapped, his usual composed expression shattered completely, his eyes darkening into a tempest of suppressed rage. The child in Yuanyang's belly is mine, he roared, his voice echoing across the courtyard. Tell me, do I have the right to interfere now? The moment the words left his lips, a collective gasp of shock rippled through the crowd of onlookers. The dowager matriarch, supported by her servants, had rushed over in a hurry, arriving just in time to hear those fateful words. Blasphemy! This is nothing but blasphemy! She clutched her chest, gasping for breath, her eyes rolling back in her head as she nearly fainted from shock and grief. Grandmother! The crowd erupted in panicked shouts. 16. In the ancestral hall, the dowager matriarch knelt on a rush cushion, twisting a string of prayer beads between her fingers. This was the first time I had seen her since I had been confined to my quarters to reflect on my sins dozens of days ago. Grandmother. I bowed respectfully to greet her. She opened her eyes slowly, her face etched with lines of sorrow and exhaustion, far beyond her years. Kneel. I knelt down obediently, saying nothing, waiting for her to speak. Do you know what crimes you have committed? The dowager matriarch asked, rising to her feet and looking down at me with a cold, unforgiving gaze. I do not know what crimes you are referring to, grandmother, I replied calmly. She let out a bitter, mocking laugh. If I had known you were nothing but a seductive demon in human form, I, this old woman, would have fought to the death to stop Third Lang from marrying you into this family. I would never have allowed you to bring such a great disaster upon the Wei clan. I pressed my forehead to the cold floor, my voice steady. I do not understand what you mean, grandmother, the dowager matriarch scoffed, her voice laced with disdain. Do you really think I am so old and senile that I know nothing? Do you think I was blind to the way you and eldest Lang cavorted together day and night, right under Third Lang's nose? Do you take me for a fool? My heart skipped a beat, a bolt of lightning seeming to strike me where I knelt. I was utterly stunned, my mind going blank with shock. Blasphemy, utter blasphemy. The dowager matriarch slammed her walking stick against the floor repeatedly, the sharp, clanging sound echoing through the solemn ancestral hall. Do you realize that the Wei clan is on the verge of destruction all because of you? I looked up at her in stunned disbelief. The dowager matriarch clutched her chest, her voice trembling with emotion as she continued. The Wei family has been a prominent aristocratic clan for 100 years. This generation, in particular, has produced two exceptional talents, Yanger and Linger. One possesses the wisdom to govern the country, the other the courage to defend it. We were on the brink of reaching the peak of our glory. Who could have imagined that our downfall would begin with you? Do you know what Yanger has done for you? He publicly rejected the princess at the 100 Flowers banquet, humiliating her beyond measure. Now the censors are swarming like vultures, using this scandalous accusation of incest to impeach him. If this continues, his entire official career will be completely destroyed. And as for Linger, he drowns his sorrows in alcohol every single day now. Just a few days ago, He got into a fight with someone in the military camp and nearly killed a man. He has already been demoted and investigated by His Majesty." Tears streamed down the Dowager Matriarch's face, soaking her robes as she spoke, her voice breaking with grief. "If things continue like this, the bright futures of my 2 grandsons, both of them, will be ruined because of you. I trusted you so much. I indulged your every whim, turning a blind eye to your schemes time and time again. Now I realize every single one of those decisions was a terrible mistake." Her words struck me like a hammer blow to the chest, filling my heart with overwhelming guilt and shame. So she had known everything all along, my schemes, my affair with Wei Yang, and yet, she had still chosen to help me, to look out for me. I kowtowed deeply to her, my forehead pressing firmly against the floor. "Grandmother, I have failed you. I have made a terrible mistake. No matter what punishment you decide to inflict upon me, I will accept it without complaint." "Punishment? What punishment?" The Dowager Matriarch sighed heavily, reaching out to help me to my feet, her voice softened, filled with weary resignation. "Now that my 2 grandsons are fighting to the death over you, punishing you will do nothing to solve this mess. As the old saying goes, when disaster arises from within the family, the clan is in grave danger. If my 2 grandsons continue to fight like this, the Wei clan will surely be destroyed in the end." She wiped away her tears, patting the back of my hand gently, her eyes hardening with resolve as she looked at me. "My child, if you still remember the kindness I have shown you over the years, if you still have any shred of gratitude left in your heart, then you must listen to my final request. Leave my 2 grandsons, leave the Wei family, go far away, and never come back." 17. 5 years later, in Gusu, there was a storytelling performance at the South Garden today. I closed my small shop early and headed to the tea house to listen to the show. The tea house was packed with people, bustling with noise and excitement. The storyteller sat on stage, holding a peeper in her arms, playing and singing as she told her tale. Today, she was once again telling the legendary story of Prefect Wei the Upright. The story went that this Prefect Wei had traveled all over the country over the years, serving as an official in various regions. He always showed compassion for the common people, working tirelessly to improve their lives and bring prosperity to every place he governed. Moreover, he was renowned for his exceptional ability to solve even the most complicated cases, never once sentencing an innocent person to punishment. He treated the rich and the poor with equal fairness and justice, earning him the heartfelt admiration of the people, who affectionately called him Prefect Wei the Upright. Hey, have you heard the news? I heard that Prefect Wei the Upright is coming to Gusu for an inspection tour soon," someone in the tea house whispered excitedly, sparking a lively conversation among the crowd. Others quickly chimed in, their voices filled with joy and anticipation. "I heard that too. They say the prefect will be staying in Gusu for quite some time. We common folks are truly blessed. Yes, having such an honest, impartial official who cares about the people. This is a great honor for our city." I had listened to stories about Prefect Wei the Upright every day, and I had always been curious about him. Now, hearing everyone talking about him like this, my interest was piqued even further. What kind of man was he, to be so beloved and respected by the people? For some reason, my thoughts drifted to an old acquaintance from my days in leylaying. Once upon a time, he too had been a man who commanded such admiration and attention. I wondered how he was doing now. It was quite a coincidence that they shared the same surname, Wei. A faint smile tugged at my lips as I thought about it, but then I suddenly remembered that it was almost time for Lina to finish school. I quickly stood up and hurried downstairs, making my way toward the academy. Outside the academy gate, Lina ran toward me, bursting into tears as he threw himself into my arms. I looked down, and my heart clenched in anger when I saw the large purple bruise on his forehead. "Who did this to you?" I asked, holding him tightly in my arms and comforting him gently, my blood boiling with rage. Lina had always been an obedient, well-behaved child at school these past few years. How could someone have dared to bully him like this for no reason?